welcome to the Casey Catchup. This is a really exciting chat I had with Marcus Tardrew and Zane Westwood. Zane and I went over to Western Australia and stayed at Marcus's place in Perth, had an epic 10 days of downwinding in late November. And man, the conditions turned on for us. We had basically 10 days of really good wind and got a few races in, invented our own race format that we think might be able to keep the fun in downwind racing and downwind foiling. But yeah, basically we chatted about a bunch of things, starting with a bit of a technique discussion, diving deep into, I guess, our deep water chip-ins when we downwind foil. So not catching a wave on the shore, but paddling up with a paddle, or being with hand paddles, or just without paddles at all. We talk about equipment, technique, and conditions, and how we can kind of get more people doing it. And hopefully you guys get a few tips from that. We then go into, I guess, a bit of a recap on a race we did called the West Coast Downwinder. It was a little bit weed infested, but it was a really cool race. Strategy came into it a lot. You'll hear what I mean. Then we talked about our free surf style downwind race we nicknamed the King of the Cutback, and hopefully we can sort of incorporate this into a few races moving forward. And then there's a brief Merimbula Classic recap from Zane, the winner of the foiling division. And we finish off chatting about the emergence of a new Australian foil brand that Marcus Tardrew was involved in. Pretty exciting. Zane and I got to witness some of the behind the scenes, and they're making a few tail wings and front wings, which is pretty cool. But stay tuned for more details on that. Probably beginning of next year, middle of next year. Marcus didn't really have an exact date to tell us, but exciting times. On the coaching, I guess, Coach Casey front, I've been doing a bunch of foil camps, had a lot of fun over in WA teaching. I'm about to launch the wing foil course finally. All the travel and being a dad for the first time has stalled it by about 9 months, but hopefully I can get it all sorted before Christmas. And basically I want to be updating the downwind foil course too, as we've learned so much over in Western Australia. I want to share that, but that's probably going to be a 2023 thing. Finish the wing foil course first. But yeah, really fun chat. Thanks everyone for following along, listening. And if you want to learn to downwind foil and get going as quick as you can, check out kcls.com and join the Coach Casey Club. I do this for the love of it. I love downwinding. I love chatting to people about it. So I hope you enjoy it. But yeah, if you want to learn and join us out there, the quickest way is to get some coaching with me. So yeah, check it out, kcls.com. Check out the Coach Casey Club, and I'll see you out there. Oh, and another cool little feature I've added, I'm going to start taking notes when I do calls. So if I'm look like I'm disinterested in the chats I'm having with the guest, it's because I'm taking notes of when we change topics. So when you're listening through, you can fast forward to the topic you want to listen to instead of scrolling through and having to listen to the whole lot that you're not necessarily completely interested in. So I'll add in the notes little timestamps as to when you can fast forward to the bit that you're interested in. Hope that helps. All right, welcome to the Casey Catchup. We got heaps to chat about. I've got Zane and Marcus, and we're going to go into a bunch of stuff, starting with sort of your downwind chip-in, or I call it like a bumpy water start versus your flat water start. We're also going to go into some of the West Coast activities that we were lucky enough to get a part in. Marcus, Zane, and I were all crashing at Marcus's place and doing heaps of downwinding. We learnt heaps on conditions, equipment. Zane especially upped his level, which was pretty sick to see. And we had an awesome race. We'll go through that and also go through like a little new race format that we sort of came up with while we were down there too. And then we'll finish with a bit of a chat on Merimbula, which anyway, plenty to talk about, but welcome Marcus and Zane. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was cool to hang with both you guys over in and thanks for hosting us, Marcus. Us East Coast boys at your place. It was pretty fun.
It was a pleasure. So much fun.
Yeah, it was
yeah, it's been a few years since we've had some people over for some racing, and even though the racing didn't sort of happen as planned, it was still cool. It was fun.
Yeah, we'll go into the racing stuff a bit more later, but I guess amongst lots of foil discussions, Marcus also educated us both on and sort of sucked us into the F1 world, which is a bit different.
F1 nerd.
Yeah,
It's,
I
have you
think
watched it since? Did you watch the
I haven't.
finale?
I haven't
Uh,
yet, but I'm going to. Just
we
don't tell me.
won't get carried away with that. We'll start to bore people. I'll go into a hole.
I think a lot of foilers would appreciate F1 if they had you explaining it, Marcus, to
Well,
them. But
it's funny.
Yeah.
We got Reedy into it. I feel like foilers deep down are nerds, like tech nerds.
definitely.
And that's all F1 is. It's just tech nerds, the smartest tech nerds in the world. So foilers do seem to lap it up a bit. It's cool.
Yeah, it was and I think there's a lot of points that we can take from that sort of go towards foiling, but we won't go into that today. Not this time. Let's dive straight in. I want to do like a bit of a sort of a technique or like pointers section within the Casey Catchup. And one thing I noticed over in Western Australia was how different the conditions were for like our chip in. We also sort of, Zane and I dove pretty deep into prone paddle ups. Zane in particular was smashing them by the end. My knees and feet gave way, rashes all over them and bruises.
I've
But-
still got sea ulcers
Yeah,
on my feet.
we might need to get like softer grip or wear booties or something, because there's a tax you pay for not using a paddle, it seems, which is scratches and whatnot on your feet. But yeah, let's go into, I guess, let's start with you, Marcus. Like, what are you thinking about when you're like the perfect chip in for like downwind conditions? Explain your conditions, your equipment, and then I guess a few pointers you have.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, like you guys said, I think WA is pretty different to what you guys paddle up in. And over here, I think it's pretty easy, maybe, compared to some other places. It's a pretty organized wind chop. There's no real swell, so they're kind of short and sharp. And yeah, I'm usually just pointing downwind and waiting to feel the tail sink. Sort of, you feel the big bump go and you feel the tail sink. And as soon as I feel that, I start paddling up the back of that one, which sounds stupid, but I think by the time you get these boards up to speed, you're already off. You're never paddling up the back of one, even though that's the trigger and that's how it feels. By the time you're third stroke in, you're into the trough, and then you're building speed to start foiling down the face of that one, if that is making sense.
For sure.
It's not always that easy, obviously. And sometimes you can get a little runner where you're like, I'm not going to foil on this, but I can build speed, and you know that that's going to hopefully turn into something. And that gets a little bit more complicated. But I think one of the things I've noticed with guys getting into it is they always wait till they miss the boat a bit, because they get in that trough and they don't realize, maybe they do, but they leave it till they're pointing down to start the sprint. And by the time they get going, the bump's sort of gone under them and away from them, and they're falling off the back. And the other thing I've noticed when people learn is possibly not using their legs enough. They're just relying on paddle speed. They're the two biggest maybe tips that I've been given to people if they've come to me, or they've come into the shop and said, they're demoing a board. It's their first time. I'll say, firstly, go to the river and just try and get used to paddling us up. But yeah, secondly, paddle up the back of one, or in your head, do that, and use your legs. As much effort with your legs as you paddle. They're my two key points. I'm not a coach, so I don't really spend too long, trying to hold their hand through it. But I try and obviously want people to have a bit of success, so they don't walk away with their sort of tail between their legs and never come back. But
yeah, the more the merrier out there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think that second point you said, Marcus, how you said you can kind of use a little, like even if it's not the perfect bump, and you use that little one to kind of push you along, the speed you can carry through that will actually get you up on the next bump. And one thing that I saw you do at the start of the West Coast Downwinder is you did exactly that. You went for a little bump that I said, no, I'm going to wait. And you actually used your speed to sort of not up and over, but kind of traverse across. And then you popped up on another bump.
Yeah, I felt it was almost dead flat.
Yeah.
And I felt a little bit of energy, which I knew it wasn't going to be the one I'd get up on, but it was like I started my paddle up knowing that was going to feed me into something, which it did. And I think I had a pretty good start. I had weed within about 5 meters, but
Sorry,
we're going through that later.
I was up pretty early, and that was that example where I felt it was flat enough that I could paddle and get speed off a little of almost like a blind bump where you can't see it and it's almost feel it.
Yeah.
And then that fed me into the bump that I actually paddled up on.
Yeah. And that's something that I think
pretty technical, and like maybe for a learner, it's a bit hard to understand. I think for a learner, it's more like wait for that gully, and do that paddle up thing, because I don't know, figuring out that little sort of chip into the chip in has took me years and years and hundreds of paddle ups, I think, to figure out. So
you only can feel them. You can't really see those ones.
Yeah.
Like watching you guys do it, you paddle up in real small bumps. And I'm like, I wouldn't even look at that. But by the end of our trip, that's what I was kind of paddling for, that stuff. And just, it's more the feeling, hey, for me. Yeah, just like I'll stand there for like, I don't know, 10, 30 seconds and then just feel what the energy is doing. And then like relate it to when I should be paddling. So like to elaborate on what you're saying, Marcus, like I'll wait for my nose to go real high and that's when I'll paddle. So up the back of it as well. Yeah. And just, timing's key for sure.
What are you guys thinking about like paddle cadence? A lot of people talk about size of blade, talk about stiffness of blade, talk about height of blade, but they don't talk about cadence as much as I think they should be. I think we'll elaborate on that.
Yeah, for sure. We'll with the blades I'm using, the quick blade Alva, the 105, I've noticed I'm doing less cadence, but I'm getting a lot more power out of it. So I don't know, 30%, maybe 50% more power. So it means I don't have to paddle as fast. I can just get bigger, more powerful strokes in that will get me on foil. And I find when I'm transitioning from bouncing off the water and I'm hinging my hips, that's when I'll get more power. Compared to like a 89 square inch blade. Yeah, I found I wasn't getting enough power for my weight with that, so I was working a lot harder.
Yeah, I think I've coached a lot of guys doing this, and like at least online, what I found is the bigger blade size allows your technique to be worse. So like Marcus and I come from a SUP paddling background, like race paddle background, whereas Zane, you've paddled a SUP before, SUP foiling, but not to the level that Marcus and I were. So
not years and years of experience.
Yeah. So I think for you, especially, like I saw you like working with the blade you had, and then you transferred, and not only over in Western Australia, but while in Western Australia as well, you improved heaps. But even before that, the bigger blade, and I think you went a little bit longer in paddle height. So yeah, maybe talk about that as well.
Well, I was originally doing I think it was nose height, and then now I'm up to maybe 50 mil taller than me. About that. And I find even just that amount of like measurement like that distance give you like another meter of drive, if you know what I mean, in the water. So if I'm looking at the bump in front of me and I start going, I can either, if I do time it not as like perfect, I can still chase it down with a longer paddle.
Yep.
But with a smaller paddle, I wasn't able to do that. So timing was more key.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't reach the water once you were semi-foil.
Yeah. Once I was say half on foil, I wasn't getting planting my paddle at my nose. I was halfway between my feet and my nose. So that mean I couldn't get as much power to either chase it down or get up earlier.
Yeah, that was something that I guess, because I'm looking at people's videos they send in all the time for the, Talkback Tuesday sort of Coach Casey Club stuff. And what happens is when you're paddling on flat, people can, keep their paddling in pretty good technique. As soon as you lift up out of the water, you have to either hinge at the hips,
Yeah.
bend the knees. And Marcus, you talked about that, bending, like paddling with your legs. And especially once your board comes off the water, if it comes off 10 centimeters, you have to bend your knees so you lower 10 centimeters. And for
That's
you,
where
Zane,
the technique comes in, that's where the technique comes in, That's when I've noticed it too with me and other people. That's where they'll start to lose the technique and they'll start not panic paddling, but they'll start just losing all their training essentially.
Yeah, because it's a different stroke from on the water to off the water. And unless you're used to really burying that blade deep in the water, I think what will happen is you sort of get up and then you just stall and you're like, what happened? I was almost there. And it's the most critical point that you need a good paddle stroke to keep your speed moving.
Yeah.
In the bumps, almost more important in the flat water. But paddle technique for the SUP it's important. And I guess Marcus and I we probably take it for
I also find when
granted.
you're hinging more over, you're counterbalancing your nose from lifting up, so when you start hinging and you're paddling, you start leveling your board out, which gets you on foil easier. I find, you're not battling against that uphill of the board.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that I talk about like a lot, like in terms of like I coach people for SUP paddling, and then there's SUP downwind foil paddling. It's kind of different because if we can get our body weight onto the blade, we're going to go faster, like on just the flat water going straight. But for downwind, and especially SUP foil, we've got to take into account the pitch of the board and the pitch of the foil. And if you stay with your weight forward all the time, obviously the nose is going to go down, you're going to nosedive, and you're never going to lift up, especially in flat water, because you actually have to generate that lift by leaning back. And to paddle fast in a straight line on like a SUP race board, if you lean back too far, it means all your body weight's behind you, which is counterintuitive to going fast forwards. Because if we have our weight in front of us, we can then go forward faster. But yeah, that's a good point. Like by hinging at that final moment, you can create the lift you need, or prevent that lift that you might stall you out.
Yeah.
And it's a lot going on in like 5 to 10 strokes. And that's what it is. I guess these bumpy water paddle ups and chip ins. And Marcus, do you have anything to add on that with the paddle work, I guess?
Not really. I think the cadence thing it gets quite important as you start pushing the foils you're paddling up. So I think there is a cadence that's too slow for high aspect foils, because if your paddle cadence is slow, that means that your pump with your legs will be slow, because they have to be the same. And if your pump with your legs is slow, that means it's going to be a big pump. So a lot of angle, like that. Whereas the high aspect foils don't really like to be put on that much angle. They'll stall, if you like borderline foiling, which is what's happening when you're trying to paddle up, you need it to be shallower angle change, which I find that like the higher cadence, and Zane's well and truly obviously in that higher cadence range, even with the big paddle.
Yeah.
I've never really experimented with the big paddle. It'd be interesting to see if someone small and weak like me could do a high cadence with that paddle. But yeah, I reckon the cadence is more important as you start to push the foil that you're using. Yeah. You can get away with it with the thicker learner foils for sure.
Yeah.
Because they're generally not super high aspect or low chord. But yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. Like when I paddle up the 90, I'm like, my cadence is even higher again, because like you just can't pump it very hard. It'll just keep dropping and dropping.
Yeah, let's go into that. So one of the things I saw when we were over there was Zane especially progressing a lot and onto smaller foil sizes. Like I think the first run you had the 170 in your hand, and Marcus, I think you said to him, like, put that away. We only use 120s here. And you were like, I like we've done a lot of downwinders here at home, Zane, and there's days where you're struggling to paddle up the 170. Like
even yesterday, I should have been on the 170, and it was, what do you reckon, 15, 20 knots?
Yeah, it was decent wind, but
the
swell made it tricky.
Yeah, you'd be wouldn't even bat an
Probably
eyelid
that
to do
different
the
bump,
120
eh?
at home. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess let's talk about that. So I guess so kind of short, long story short, Zane was used the 120 every run, and I think after the second day, he was one of the first people up as well on the 120. So let's talk about, we've talked about I guess equipment, paddles. Let's talk about foils, and then how the foils with a board, and then a little bit on bump stuff too. Because basically in Perth, the bumps are like this; they're real peaky. Whereas in Sydney, at least the run we had yesterday, we have all sorts of conditions. But yesterday, the bumps were like this.
They're
like
pretty
these
round. Yeah.
big, round, like almost flat. Whereas in Perth, it was like there was like 3 little peaks in the same place. Yesterday, there was one big bump. So yeah, Zane, talk us through like your progression over in Perth and what you found was easier.
Yeah, so definitely the bumps are closer together in Western Australia, more organized, because there's no, well, at the start of the run, it's not swell affected. So it's a lot more defined in that sense. Like it's closer to a bay run, but like obviously bigger bumps and
it's a really big, I guess Perth, I guess is
it's like it is a big bay essentially.
Yeah.
If Rottnest out 30 k's away or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the 120 obviously, well, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be to paddle up because of the steepness in the bumps, and then like how close they were together. And timing wasn't as important as at home riding the 120. Like the 120 on the East Coast, you got to be on point with what you're doing, because if you mistime it, you're going to be either running up the back of one or trying to chase one down. And the swells are moving faster as well at home. Well, Western Australia, they're definitely moving slower.
Yeah.
The small bumps, and then once you get up and you can tap into the bigger sets, you feel like you're moving faster. I feel like I was moving faster in Western Australia, but I was comparing times. I was moving slower, like, because I guess there's not swell affected,
it's funny, isn't it? Because it's your perception of speed is relative to the bumps that you're riding.
Yeah.
So in Perth, you're a lot of the time going faster than the bumps and like overtaking or zigging and zagging. Whereas here in Sydney, we're riding a lot of ocean swells, and like we sort of talked about, like they're big, fat, long bumps. Whereas in Perth, they seem to be really nice, short, sharp peaks.
Yeah, there's more downtime on the East Coast. You're more pumping between, but West Coast, you're just like, your average speed is just the same essentially. There's not much like difference between it.
Yeah, the difference between a good run and a bad run was, despite the weed, was not too different.
Nah.
Yeah, like
it was all good runs.
Yeah, they're all good. They seem to all be good runs. Yeah.
It's set the race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Marcus? I guess you've done a few downwinds on the East Coast too. I guess the Goldie you've done a fair bit on, and even Hawaii, the only Aussie to complete M2O on the foil. Do you want to? I guess you're probably a bit skewed at the moment because you've spent a lot of time in Perth of late. But like, I guess we spoke about Perth bumps probably 3 or 4 years ago on the older foils. How do you reckon it's changed with the new foils?
With the foils being better, probably since your previous visit here, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Obviously things have changed a lot with the foils, and I think that you get, because of the glide that you have now, you just got way less drag than we used to have. And when you wanted to go down to Mandurah, I was like, the run's not as good as you remember, because the foils are better, and it's almost a little bit boring at the start, and it gets better at the second half, but it's almost just as good in Metro Perth now, because the new foils, you do a lot of pinballing, so you find a bit of energy, bank off it, and you're just banking, which is super fun. And I think, previously when you would have come when you're going like from a bit of energy banking and then finding the next one, back then we would have been pumping between those transitions, whereas now you keeping the foil pretty well lit the whole time, and so the average speed's so much higher because our slow speeds aren't very slow. And you get more opportunity to use more of the ocean, I think, because the foil's so fast and so efficient. You see a bump over there and you go over there. Previously it was a mission to get somewhere, unless you were on a bump. So yeah, I think as it gets better, the foils get better. It just keeps getting better, all the conditions, because it just opens up more of the ocean, I think. And
what was interesting
though,
though,
that asked me the other day, I was like, do you ever get bored of foiling? Was that you?
Oh, I wouldn't have asked you that.
I don't know who it was. Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, someone asked me that the other day, and I was
that would have been a non-foiling friend.
Yeah,
no, it was a foiler. And I think they were referring to me downwinding, and I said, nah, I don't. But I think it changes so much. Obviously, the conditions are never exactly the same, but the equipment is changing. So we're always changing the way we do it, and it's getting faster and more. The foils are, because they're faster and better, they're more maneuverable. So, some of the clips that you would have, Zane's clip, getting half his foil out, grabbing rail and then just foiling away with a little giggle.
Yeah.
I don't think we would have been, I don't even know if that would have been possible 3 years ago with the foils we got. So it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that was insane. Like, I'll share that clip on here. But do you think so? Yeah, like before, like 2-3 years ago, the Mandurah run was a fair bit better than the Perth run, mainly because of the angle. Like, it's just straighter. You don't have to cut out as much. I think with foils the way they are now, you can glide. It's not a problem pumping.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Like traversing out. What was interesting when we did the first half of the cut, which was kind of the fun bit 2-3 years ago, it was not fun at all. It was, I think we were using two faster foils, I reckon. And we were basically just having a pump through that first 10Ks, which was the gold 10Ks a few years ago. So I guess in hindsight, we probably should have used a different foil if we're just going to race the first 10, or not race, just surf the first 10Ks. But the second, I guess, 10-15Ks of that King of the Cut run, that was pretty nice on the new foil, like the fast foils, that's for sure. Like, it was
the messiest.
It's good technical riding.
Super techie. Yeah. It
was real fun.
Yeah, super fun. Let's go into the I guess, board design. And we'll start with you, Marcus. I guess we just released the Aviator Pro and Elite, and kind of taken a bit of a different approach, I guess, to a lot of the other brands that have gone super long and skinny. Not that different, but just haven't gone as extreme, I guess. Let's talk us through it.
Yeah.
Not in too much depth, but just
cool. I don't think there's any right or wrong, really. I think those long skinny boards are really going to serve a good purpose. And maybe they could even be better for learning, or bigger bumps, harder bumps to get up in, where it's more of a long paddle up than a short split second sprint like we do here. And like I've sort of done pretty much most places I've foiled. But also the cool thing that I've noticed since when you guys got here, we had a 610 by 18 delivered, Jimmy. You had one just with some more liters than mine. And before that, I was riding a 6.3 by 20. And I really found the 610. It's not like it's more stable, but it's more predictable because of its length. It doesn't like squirm around everywhere, especially with these foils where the like Lift and maybe Armstrong, and I'm not sure what else, but where the mast is placed really far forward in the board, which is like putting your surfboard fins halfway up the board. I mean, you can imagine how squirrely it is. And you're in the ocean, so, you know, wave semi breaks behind you, the tail sort of tries to overtake the nose, and it's all hard. It makes it hard to stand on. And then the 610, just the sheer length of it, even though I was 2 inches skinnier, which is heaps in SUP world. You know, when I got it, I thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to stand on that with my ability. And it was easier. And it wasn't the side-to-side stability. It was the predictability of the board. And it paddles straighter. And I think a lot of, what I'm noticing with a lot of learners, they struggle to paddle straight with these little boards. And, you know, I think this is all going to evolve, and I'm evolving with the board design because I've been doing it. I was supping, and then I got into SUP foiling, and it was the paddling part was easy. And now with this explosion into downwind, you know, people are, I'm seeing the problems that people are having, I guess, you know, and yeah, I think there's going to be a definite place for these super long skinny boards. And then I think there'll also be a place for something like a 610 by 18. I don't think I would really want to go longer personally. And I might have said that about my 6.3 last chat we had, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I did notice with the 610 in the race with the weed, where the weed makes it quite hard to ride high, nearly impossible. And I kept hitting my tail all the time. And you're never gliding, you're pumping. Like I couldn't walk for a few days probably after that race.
You said it was harder than Molokai.
Yeah, it's fully, it was half the distance. But yeah, I think for me, when things get a bit technical and a bit messy, knowing that I had that issue quite often, for me, and this is just my opinion on what I would use, I probably wouldn't go much longer because of that issue. It was a little frustrating. But, you know, it was a pretty rare run to have that much weed and to be pumping and having no glide. I had never noticed the tail really clipping that much until that day. So that's also something for me to be aware of.
I guess it's a good example of what people could be doing when they're learning too. Like if you're constantly riding lower, like I spoke to Shep Nelson, I cleared up a few things I'd been misquoting him. He was saying the Barracuda in the Hawaii Kai run, what was fine, it was the length of his mast. So he was using like a 60 centimeter mast, which is short, you know, super short. And with his 5.0 by 32 Barracuda, he found the extra length, which is not 5.0 by 32, it's more like 8 by 19, you know, the extra length, he found the tail touching down heaps and the nose touching down a fair bit. Some part of the board was touching down more than often because of the shortness of the bumps and the length of his mast. So he was blaming the length of his mast on riding lower, touching down more often compared to a Malika run where the bumps are longer. So I guess what you're talking about there, Marcus, is the same problem with a longer board, even though it's under 7 foot, but a longer board than we're used to in conditions that are different, you know, and that's what we're learning. And one of the things that I've found is even Sydney to Perth, and then, you know, different spots along the East Coast that I've downwinded, it's conditions change a lot. And so the length of a board and even the length of the chop will affect how the board paddles up or even surfs in those conditions. So the length, I think, is going to be condition or location specific is what I reckon.
Quite possibly. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, like you said, obviously with COVID, I haven't really traveled much for foiling, and foiling was just sort of taken off pre-COVID. I think we both did the last Molokai. World champion here.
Still the king.
still the.
There's the plaque on the wall behind you, mate.
Yeah, reigning champ. Had to take it down.
But and obviously things have changed a lot since then with boards and foils. So it would be interesting now. If I was to travel now, I would just be taking my 610. I wouldn't take my 6.3. Yeah,
that's
and it's
traveling
interesting what would
to
happen.
that's traveling to race, right? Not traveling to just
Traveling to downwind.
okay. So
I don't find any downside because it's so much skinnier than my 6.3. So it doesn't feel harder to pump.
Yeah.
You do notice the length a little bit when you're surfing, just having fun and you're trying to push hard. But it's not a big deal. The bumps are generally big, you know what I mean? Like they're drawn out. You've got plenty of room for your board.
Yeah. I guess for us,
but-
Marcus, like we're used to in our past life paddling 18 to 19.6, I think was the longest we went, unlimited race boards. So when people say a 7 or 8 foot foil board above the water doesn't fit in between the bumps, I just shake my head. I'm like, I used to paddle a 19.6 in between the same bumps that you're foiling. So
yeah,
it fits.
Yeah.
You gotta just navigate your way around and stuff. But I mean, I think it was interesting seeing Zane. You know, he brought 2 boards over, and better for Zane to comment, but I noticed that he like virtually used one most of the time after a couple of days, didn't you? He just went to
I was on the Phantom, the 6.5 at the start. I think I rode it for like 3 runs and then got onto the 7.2, and this, like you said, Marcus, the stability, the length of the board makes up for the side to side stability. So it's a different type of balance, but it's not that much. I reckon it's easier to stand on than a smaller board. Like my 6.5's 21 wide, and the Sultan is 19. So like, I think I thought would be a lot harder to stand on just because of how narrow it is, but it's not that much harder. I'd say it's like maybe because it's buoyant as well. It's got more liters. It sits above the waterline. And I definitely agree with what you're saying. When you paddle, it's not as like it's not fishtailing through the water, so you can put more power into your paddles and you'll get more planing speed essentially, which means earlier up onto foil.
Yeah.
And I guess that was my aim for the race, was to be one of the first on foil and get a good start. And throughout the race, it definitely, I came off foil 9 times due to seaweed.
Yeah.
So it really became a tactic in the race, you know, like when to come down. And so like sections of it, like I would wait because the bumps weren't as steep, and then I'd wait for it to get steeper, and then so I could clear my weed and then go again. So that's what I found with a narrower, longer board. It was, I'd say 50% easier to paddle up on foil for me compared to the smaller one. And then it didn't really affect too much of my like turning ability. Like it is a bit more robust to ride, but like it's not that much more than a board that's 8 inches less, you know?
Yeah, I guess what we have to weigh up is, like, obviously I was chatting to Bennett the other day, and he's like, you can't argue that a prone board, like a 30-litre prone board, is going to be worse than a 100-litre sup for the downwind. I'm like, yeah, I reckon a prone board is going to be way more maneuverable. But it's the ability, if you're weighing up the ability to get up on foil quickly, and then your, I guess, pump ability and turn ability once you're up. And if you can't get up on foil, then forget about pumping and, you know, a few less kilos or grams. So that's
I reckon like prone downwind on a 4.6 board. So like you use a prone board in the surf when it's steeper, more power essentially, like in short amount of time. So you can use it whips around more. But with a downwind board, the bumps are obviously not as steep as a wave. So it's all relative with the size of your board, you know. It's like you're not going to be doing as sharper turns between the bumps, you know. So I personally like I've downwinded on a prone, whipped in by a ski. You know, I found I was working harder to get the same result because the board was lighter. I couldn't maintain speed for as long, so the average wasn't there. So with a downwind board, it kind of smooths out all those little areas, and then I don't know, you just have more momentum carrying through the whole run essentially, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. There is something even about like I up at Merimbula, I was surfing my downwind board a fair bit, my 6.321, and Jeremy Wilmot was he said to me a couple times, he's like, I don't know how you can throw that board around so much. I did a couple like whitewater rebounds that I would not have made on my prone, like hand in my heart, there was no way. But because the board's bigger, longer, more volume, when I came down, touchdown, it's like I was using a smaller foil relative to the board, I guess.
Yeah.
So you can same for downwind. You get like a kind of max out your speed or something. It's the momentum. It's smoothing it out. It's all those things, and that's I think that's why probably a lot of guys are loving the Barracudas or those sort of styles of board, because they're not turning, they're not whipping it that hard anyway. Because downwind's kind of the long board of foiling.
Yeah. Can you agree though, when you're at higher speeds on a longer board, it's more stable? Like I found when I was going fast, like I don't know, whatever speeds, like a higher speed, it was definitely more. I was more confident dropping down bigger bumps. You know,
you feel more locked in.
You do. Hey, yeah,
and that's interesting, because I was just waiting to chime in and say, you know what, you're usually riding on your prone board is one wave. It's like a skateboard ramp that's been paved in a dead straight line, or virtually.
Yeah.
And you get in the ocean, you're riding, what you're possibly turning on is two waves like joining together, and that fully slingshots you into the flats, or sometimes you're fading over a bump. It's very, very different to what you're doing on a prone. Belly, who you guys met here, he did a prone run the other day, and he's one of his texts was interesting. He said something like it's more survival. So yes, it's a survival run. So you might be able to do a backflip on a prone board, but you're not going to, because if you're going to crash, you're going to paddle back in and chip in, unless you're Mr. Bennett's or James Casey or Zane. You got guys who want to take you down on a ski, but for us, it's not happening. We go after work and we go out, and you can chip in on a prone or you can paddle, and they're both awesome. The thing I like, if I want to surf, I would always choose like a 6-foot sup over a prone board, because I want to be able to push as hard as I can if I want to surf, because then, and I'll crash for sure.
But you get straight back
then
up.
I can paddle back up, and then I can push as hard as I want again, and I'll crash again.
Like I'd never try a turn like I did on a prone board that far out. I'd never think of it. So.
Yeah, it's. I wonder if you could get up just as quickly on a 40 or 30 liter prone board, if it would be the same thought. Like the same, because there's a mental thing. If I fall, I've got to paddle in. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 15 minutes in, and that's a pain in the ass, because I don't want to fall. And if I keep, I'm on a time schedule or whatever it is, I just want to continue down the run. And for sure, the prone runs I've done from like Northie to Collaroy, it's been like, I don't want to turn, because if I have to paddle in,
glide the whole way.
Just gliding. And whereas on a SUP, it's like, Zane, you and I've had a few sessions where we're like, let's just film each other. And you said it was like like at the snow, like filming your mates through the skate park, or so the freestyle, like half pipe park and rail park and that sort of stuff. And it was so fun. And like, if we fell, we'd
all just come down and hang out.
Yeah, we'd both just sit down and then go again. That's what we found in WA too. Like, if someone fell, then the people at front and sort of look back, we'll just wait, sit down. On a prone run, it's kind of like, if one person falls, it's like, see you at the end.
And the banter when you're waiting is cool,
Yeah.
And then as someone catches up, they always try and do something cool for you if you're sitting down waiting for them. Like Zane, when he did half of his wing out of the water. We were just sitting there waiting, and he comes up and
you guys are egging me on though.
Oh yeah, I was 100%. Saying to do a backflip, but
I think you one upped us. That's better than a backflip, I reckon, because you rode out of it.
That was amazing.
Let's quickly talk about like the prone stuff, and I guess not prone on a surf prone board, but like the prone downwind boards that are emerging. And one of the things that I guess we would talk, or we explored over in WA with the hand paddles that Jordan, the hand paddle co guy, has made. That it's, big, basically paddles on your hands, and basically they seem to be best for kneeling. Marcus didn't get amongst it, but Zane and I had a pretty good crack at it. And what did you find, Zane? You got it pretty good by the end.
Yeah, I found it really fun. Just trying something different. Like it's hard. Like, I'd like to try it over here back at home and compare it, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be out in the ocean. But maybe because we're getting really good conditions. And well, the biggest thing for me was I didn't want to be riding a wing bigger than what I should be with the hand paddles. So it's definitely like it's really early days, like everyone's just starting to get into it. So it'd be interesting to see where it actually goes from here with everyone getting a better technique. And essentially it, like I can see it like, maybe at the start of our race, it'd be harder to get up on, like, say, the 120. I don't think it'd be pretty tricky. Yeah, because it was pretty flat. So I feel like,
imagine with weed.
Yeah, fully. So like it like when it's lighter, I reckon definitely you couldn't be getting up, like,
I guess at this stage
essentially
too, like
can't
you said,
flat water start a 120 with the hand paddles,
Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, that's it.
Never
so
say
board
never.
design could evolve, and then
yeah.
Yeah, well, with regards to paddling up with the hand paddles, I find you need to definitely look for a different style of bump. It's not like a little chip in. It's more kind of a longer, it's not the big ones, it's more the medium ones that have a long runway. And then you're obviously paddling down and you're kind of jumping up on the peak of the wave or the bump.
Yeah.
And then it lets you go.
Yeah.
But I found it really rewarding once up and going.
Totally. It was cool. It was cool watching you progress and sort of tune into what were the good bumps, what were the bad bumps. And I guess, like you said, we had pretty good conditions. Like you paddle up on the 120, I paddle up on the 899, like just exactly what we were supping halfway down our run. And yeah, it would have been interesting to try it from the start of the run, because that's obviously the bumps are a bit smaller, closer to shore as well. But like you said, I think whether it's just because we were new to it or just the whole pop-up thing, but like you said, like if this is our bump going this way, on a sup you can kind of get up about here and you'll be up and foiling, whereas on the prone I felt like we had to be at the top of the bump, almost off the back of it, to be able to have time to stand up and foil away out of it. Yeah. That was the downside, I guess, that I saw with the hand paddles. Like, and look, we've literally, like, I think I've tried like three or four sessions now, and Zane, you got a few more than me over there. But like, all of us have paddled a sup more than we have tried to prone paddle into bumps foiling. So it's early days, and I think there's definitely I think it's made exciting. It more accessible for people, because like we took Bo out that afternoon, and by the end of it, he's never done any downwinding experience. He can foil, and then by the end of it, he pretty much got up, didn't he? I didn't see him because I came in, but he got up a couple times. He got up twice in the last 10 minutes. He got up once and just sort of hadn't used the board before. He'd sort of pumped away once, pumped twice, and then just sort of dug a rail, just new foil, new board, that sort of problem. And then the second one, he had the perfect bump. He went to get up. He was on foil, went to get up, and just with the hand paddles, he slipped. So it was just like he was finding the right bumps. And this is his first time downwinding anything, like you said, Zane. And I watched it click with him. And for someone to have that same ability to read bumps and ability to generate power with like, literally he was on the water for like 45 minutes to an hour, and it clicked for him. Whereas I guess the SUP is probably a slightly longer journey in that you've got to learn to be able to stand on your board, you learn to be able to paddle straight, balance standing up, timing from standing. So I think it could be a gateway to like learning how to downwind with hand paddles. And then because essentially if you can't get up, you can't, you're not riding. So that's the next thing
like other from SUP downwinding, you got to learn how to paddle up on foil and then read the bumps. So that kind of that faster learning curve of being able to ride the bumps, and then you can obviously we're always learning, but like get more experience at it, and then read the bumps better, and then kind of go over to SUP downwind. That could be a definitely a way. Because like we came from supping and then we did the hand paddles, so obviously we've got experience of reading the bumps when paddling up. So we obviously didn't find it as hard because we know what we want to paddle for and what we don't want to.
Yeah. I think the other thing is reading the bumps down lower, I think, is actually easier because you're at the eye level. You can see whether it's an uphill or whether it's a downhill. Whereas in a SUP being high, and I had never thought of this because I've supped downwind pretty much my whole downwind life. Being up higher, like I've learned to read the bumps from standing up, but being down low, I always figured you'd just be getting splashed in the face and it'd be horrible. But for the downwind prone falling thing, when you're down low, you can actually really notice you're like more connected to the board and the water or something. It's easier to read the bumps, which
I reckon you feel like the energy going under you. Easy. I would say easier. And then when you paddle, like your center of gravity or your weight is all down low, so you can get power like earlier.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean like
the biggest disadvantage is the pop up.
That's it. Like with a SUP, because you're paddling and pumping, so you got two things going at once. And you can do that you can do that with the hand paddles, but there's a point where you've got to stop pumping to be able to get up and stand up.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, why you've got to be at the top of that bump, because you've got to use that whole downhill to get to your feet and then pump away. Whereas on a SUP, I feel like sometimes you're almost just at the bottom of the trough and you're up and going, and then you can kind of, because you're paddling and pumping.
You can either grind it up or like force it, or if on a good one, you're just up and going.
Yeah.
But it's early days. I think with the prone on the knees, it's harder to force a bump, like to get on a bump, you kind of have to wait for that good one, and that lets you in, has a long runway, and then you can get up and start like weaving off.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see how it evolves, but like you said, I think it's exciting. There's another way to do it. And I think it's going to open up people don't like stand-up paddling. Like there's a different.
It's definitely hard for sure.
There's a different. You've got to start in the flat, and basically the advantage of the prone, I think, is it's not that hard to just paddle in. And I thought I'd be paddling in on my stomach, but I definitely found more power on my knees. I'm updating my downwind foil course and adding the prone sort of paddle up thing, because I think there's something in it, and it's. I don't think it's better or easier than SUP in the long run, but I think it might be easier for some the first 2 weeks, just to give them a taste of it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, give them a taste of riding.
Yeah,
because that's what the most rewarding thing is, being up on foil, just surfing the ocean.
Yeah,
endless energy.
The more doing it, the better. Had a pretty sick crew in WA, and
yesterday we had 5 of us do a downwind to Marcus, and that was the most ever we've had on the East Coast.
In Sydney. And there were like 3 that went a bit earlier, and I saw another guy, Hunter, halfway down the run, and so it's essentially there was 10 or 11 of us downwinding yesterday on our local run, which is like 3 years ago. It was like Zane was just getting into it, and it was kind of like I was solo. Maybe Sean Woolnough would come with me every now and then. It's pretty sick.
Exciting for sure.
It's a bit of momentum at the moment.
For sure.
We've got a little note on what you guys have been chatting about. There's a guy in the shop. You did a clinic with him while you're over here, Jimmy, and he's learning to downwind, and he's sticking with the hand paddles.
Yep.
And every now and then he has a bit of a SUP, but he came in the shop and he said, I think I'm going to get up on foil sooner with the hand paddles. And this is my gateway to the SUP. And I think like I'm in the same boat as what you mentioned, Zane. I don't really want to do it because I don't want to not use I don't own a foil bigger than a 120. So,
Yeah.
I'm pretty restricted to it would restrict the conditions I went out in probably. I wouldn't have paddled up in the race with
Nah.
the on 120.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that, and even if it doesn't lead to people on a SUP, if they go downwind their whole lives with hand paddles or chip in prone, whatever, it's all epic. The more variance, the better, because everyone's different. Everyone's place where they do it will be different. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, look at the Hawaii crew.
Sorry?
The Voyager crew, like that little, like, what's it, couple mile run they do, Black Point to the windsock. That's like, it's almost a wave. Marcus, you and I have paddled it on the SUP, and it's like ocean swells wrapping. It's almost off. It's like, feels like it's sort of cross off. But yeah, like I can see why they prone that all the time, because the reef line is just there. So yeah, like you said, there's just different conditions. There's
surf.
Yeah.
Prone surf. Yeah, right.
Yeah. They're not. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, you guys, and you're saying.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
Sidetracked you.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Come back.
It all works. There's no right or wrong, but I guess what we're commenting on is what our experience is, and yeah.
I feel like it goes back to the long skinny boards. They're like a hybrid. You can use them for SUP and prone.
Yeah.
Which is what with Amos we were designing, to make it both. You don't have to have two separate boards. You can have a board that, if you want to do prone or the knee with the hand paddles, and then supping as well. So, which is good, I find. Like,
yeah. I think credit's got to go to Dave Kalama, because he designed the Barracuda to try to prone paddle in.
Yeah, he paved the way, didn't he?
Yeah, and then a few guys were like, "Oh, I can stand on this board of yours," and he was like, "Oh, no way." And it wasn't really designed as that, but sure. And then guys like Jeremy Riggs are paddling up in a flat on it easy, and then they're going no paddle, like pump ups basically.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. But yeah, like full circle almost. Started 12.6 race board, went down to like 5 foot eggs, and now it's gone back up to sort of 7 to 8 foot prone boards that double as SUPs. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's been a cool evolution. I'd hate to have bought a board like 6 months ago right now, because it's...
Oh my god, it'd be so inundated. Yesterday when we went with Benny, and you saw the board he was going to ride, and you rattled him.
Oh, Benny, Marcus, Benny was going to try and paddle up the like 5.6 wing aviator.
Was it a 5.6?
Oh, it's
5.11.
Yeah,
it's still like, pretty much.
Yeah, and I was like, Benny, you're not riding that, are you? And like it's got my name on it. It's like the Casey aviator. I'm like, the wing aviator. I'm like, dude, let me help you out. Let me go to the board that, because like those boards, like it's short and wide. And short limits glide, wide limits glide. So, and like for his first time sending it downwind, I lent him. I lent him in the ocean.
That's all. And you gave him the one you raced on.
Yeah.
610 by 18, and it like it shows that he obviously doesn't have as much supping experience. He's just getting into it, but he got on it and he was able to paddle that board.
Yeah, it was I chatted to Sam Parker from the shop at WSS, and we were talking about like, do we think there's a market for these longer skinny boards? And he was like, oh, I think everyone's going to buy them and not going to be able to stand on them. And it's going to be an inundation of secondhand long skinny boards. And I totally understand from a shop's perspective. It's like, at the moment, you got to be careful what you put all your eggs, all the eggs in the basket for. And obviously the extremes are risky, but for people that are buying the boards, if they can try them, and to me, I was stoked Benny was up to like sort of trying it out. Yeah. And he literally was standing on it. I didn't even see him fall off at the beginning. It was pretty messy too.
No, he was sweet.
Yeah.
Like he paddled out on it, and then we went through the channel, and then there was the waves. So obviously everyone got on their stomachs and then paddled out. And then as soon as when I got up on fire, I saw him paddling, and he was, pointing downwind, and didn't look like it was too unstable.
No, I think the stability of the foil adds is something that I guess Can't
Yeah, that's a big
underestimate.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing a lot of guys out there on our demo boards from the shop, and it makes me think this guy's pretty skilled.
Yeah, Benny's a bit of a
Um,
freak. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
there's
he's-
guys out there on 6.9 pros, which are pretty wide, and you see them out there demo and they're falling off that way, then the other way. And
Yeah.
there's a need for them all, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I
Sorry,
don't think-
shops.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just think, and it's cool, they're all out there.
Mm.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for the Perth anyway, and our explosion over here, I don't know about on the East Coast, but here has been insane.
Mm.
I don't know how many downwind boards we've sold this summer, but most of them have generally been the pro in our line. And for people who don't know what I'm talking about, Sunover do 2 lines, like a pro and an elite. They're all the same length, but the pro's wider. So it's like the entry board. Shouldn't be called pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what most people are getting the most success out of. And some people are even finding them too wide. So it's interesting, this guy's obviously got heaps of skill. I mean, the beauty of, like you said, if you got a local shop that has demos and you can try it, because you never know where you're going to be at until you try it.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of young kids here. I shouldn't say kids. They're probably like mid-20s, but they're all little, and they just bought a bunch of my old prototypes and they're fine on them.
Yeah.
6.0 by 20, and they've never supped before,
Yeah.
and then the next person that comes in won't be able to use a 6.9 Pro. So
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between younger kids. Like I taught a guy, Hunter, in literally an afternoon. We took him to the flat. He paddled up on the flat water, like first time trying, and then took him to the ocean. And he had a bit of a hard time in the ocean, but he got up twice in the ocean. And he was out there yesterday downwinding on a 6.0 by 24, the board that you and I were using and Zane were all using for a while there. And I was like, "How's the balance?" He's like, "Oh, it's sweet," and I guess he's light, he's agile, he's skilled, and he's eager to learn. And there's like, that's not the majority of the market, to be fair. Like most of the market is that sort of, mid 30s to sort of 50s. Balance and skills aren't as good as a, 18 or, teenager, basically. So I think it's the demographic makes a big difference, and the skill set. And I think we've seen a lot of people come into foiling with some good skills, and there is the need for the pros, and then maybe like the super elites or the aliens, or or the sultans, longer, skinnier.
Yeah.
So it's harder for a shop, I guess, a sup shop that was used to dealing with an older demographic, and now there's younger kids coming in, which is it's epic.
I think that's where people are. A few of my mates are getting pretty interested in is the downwind. That's their, I want to learn how to downwind.
Yeah.
And I always kind of recommend learn how to actually foil first on a surf prone board, and then just get the fundamentals, and then move on to the downwind.
Yeah.
But we've seen a few guys over here that have just gone straight to downwind. Like, is it Anthony? Pretty much. He just, and he's doing it. Well, he's getting out there. And so
he's out there in the surf, or, in the channel of the surf breaks a lot. He puts the time in, but he
does.
Coach Casey Club alumni, and he's put so much time. He's out there all the time, like putting the time and effort in, and he's cracked it. Like he's a lock on bay runs, and I think ocean runs he's improving every time. Sean as well. They're both partners in crime. Yeah.
Fully. And it just shows, like, you don't have to be young and fit to be able to do it. You just got to have determination.
Yeah. Time.
And, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, how old Sean? I don't know how old he is.
I don't know. He's got a bit of he's got an old head on him. Yeah.
Seems like he's retired because he's never working. So
he still works. I lent him a foil the other day. Keen to see how he goes. But he's been trying to learn. Actually, I taught him back in like 2018 or something. We did a lesson. He actually ended up on the rocks by the flagpole. Completely ruined one of my foils. but it was my fault. I'm not blaming him. but yeah, anyway, his original idea was to try to get towed up by his mate on his surf ski. He's like, I'm gonna get my mate with a bungee and he's gonna paddle. So I don't want to learn to sup. He was resistant on the sup stuff, and he's now supping like almost exclusively now. But yeah, just put the time in, put the effort in, and it's anyone can do it.
It's getting more accessible with the gear
Yeah.
and design of stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure, it's pretty cool. Let's go on to let's go to the West Coast Downwinder. Let's open up that can of worms. It was so we did a race. We were planning to do 2 races, but one race the insurances hadn't come through for foiling. But we did this race, the West Coast Downwinder, which is Port Beach to Sorrento. It's 25 Ks. And basically, I guess Marcus, why don't you sort of run us through it? What you're the local. Talk us through the run and the conditions we had and what happened from your perspective.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, you guys, like you've been saying, nailed the conditions for the whole time you were here, except this day. I mean, I think I dropped in at the shop and borrowed the demo 170, thinking I might just be flat water paddling up. And
is that the first time you'd ever use it?
I have swapped on the ocean with a mate and used it.
Never walked into the ocean with a 170 on your foil though.
No, I don't. I haven't. Yeah. Anyway, I guess the wind like kind of started to show itself, and we knew there was enough bump to go. It was going to be fine.
Yeah.
It was small, but it was doable. And we had a feeling the weed was going to be average from the car drop. Looking out at the ocean, it looked not great in close. And yeah, I guess all our worst fears came true as we paddled off the start line. Yeah, I think the bumps were still fine to get up. I had a very good start. I think I was either up first or like same as Zane. I don't know. I thought I was on my own, and then
you up first. I saw it. You up first, Zane just behind, and I was about 3 bumps behind you guys both. Yeah, maybe more. Yeah.
And I was up and foiling, and literally within, I would say 20 meters, I had a decent chunk of weed where I was just trying to stay foiling, and I couldn't cut out. So I was I was taking all these little rights to stay on foil, and then hear this voice. Pretty good start. Like, oh, Zane, you're right there. I just thought I was here struggling on my own. And yeah, Zane, he started heading out quite hard left. I was in the weirdest thing with the weed is deciding what to do. Struggle and stay on foil or come down and get it off. But you don't know how long you're going to have no weed for. So I decided to keep struggling. I just was making no inroads as far as getting out to sea goes. Yeah,
I thought you were doing like a different tactic on the inside.
No, I was surviving. Because then shortly, I think I saw Zane come down.
Yeah, I hit a big clump of weed.
Yeah, you fell off.
Probably 3 minutes in.
Yeah.
3 minutes. Yeah, so it was like a kilometer, and you had to come down already.
Yeah.
And I saw you come down. I was like, I'm still surviving, so maybe I'll keep surviving. And if he keeps coming down for weed and I survive, I don't know, maybe it'll work out. It's around the same. And Jimmy, you were getting some nice ground out to sea. And then I just slowly, I came down eventually. I was like, I actually couldn't foil anymore. I was so gassed.
Collecting it all.
Yeah. And then I paddled up straight away, and I got weed again pretty quickly. And I pretty quickly came to the conclusion that I just needed to get to the finish. And it wasn't a race for me. I mean, this is just what was going on in my head. And I wanted to conserve whenever I could. Like if I could not pump for 10 meters, I was just going to do that. Because I knew I was going to have to be pumping pretty much the whole time. And yeah, you guys just sort of slowly crept a bit out to sea and a bit away from me. And then I could see you there, but yeah, I was just sort of doing my thing, trying to get to the finish. And then when I got to the finish, or 500 meters to the finish, I see Zane down. I was like, oh my God, I'm like, if I stay on foil, I might pass him. Because he just wasn't, he was down for ages. And I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on. Anyway, yeah, I foiled straight into that same zone, and it was mud.
Yeah.
And I came down exactly where
horrendous.
he was, down for ages. And there's just nothing you could do. I thought if someone foils past this area at the moment, there's just nothing you can do. I had to literally just paddle out to sea, maybe 100 meters, so I could get on foil, because you wouldn't have even been able to paddle up there. Yeah, and I just happened to get up and foil to the finish, and yeah, got to the finish. That was for me. That was literally, I was thinking
Broken.
I think about halfway. City Beach is pretty close to halfway, and or maybe between there and Scarborough. I was pretty broken. I was like, I came down once and was kind of like, I'm not really sure I want to do this anymore. And I looked out, because I was totally unaware of where I was as far as how far we'd gone. And I looked up and was like, I'm probably halfway. I'll paddle up again, see how I go. Yeah, I don't know, just kept plugging away till I got to the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It sucks that it's not, just your standard thing and fun and going fast. But I guess it becomes one of those things that's a mental and physical challenge. And you get to the end, like I got to the end pretty happy that I made it. I was kind of proud that of myself to just deal with it and get there. And
yeah, which for a 25K run, you wouldn't normally be that proud.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, it's not what you sign up for. You hope that you have a good clean run with good bumps, but yeah, it's just how it is.
Yeah. It added a good layer to it, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Zane, let's run us through your sort of version of the day too, because I think I saw, you mentioned it earlier, but I saw your I guess dropping down, ridding of weed, and then back up. Like you're pretty much up and down in like 5 seconds. Like it was.
So yeah, that was my tactic with the weed, because I was kind of running through it the day before. Yeah. In my head, and like I guess so I came down 9 times throughout the race, due to weed, and I just had in my head I wouldn't be first like the whole way. So my tactic was, if someone was in front of me and they came down, I'd come down in front with them as well at the same time to wash all the seaweed off me, so I could just stay with them. And I didn't want to be in front, so I didn't have to look around, But like when I did come down, the weed, it was only the ribbon weed, it wasn't the big chunk. So I'd like pop off foil and then shoot back and then go forward again. And it worked every time. I like never got back up on foil with weed on my, like with weed.
Like you're sort of like doing an air and then literally landing and then back foot heavy and then like shooting up. Yeah. Because you were coming down on like a sweet little set. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I was timing it with like a good section of bumps as well. And then I'd essentially just like do an ollie and my foil comes out of the water and it like rids the weed. And I'd come back down and like kick back and then go again.
Yeah. I saw you do it a couple of times and I was like, holy shit,
all...
this guy's next level.
It was all, I don't know, the adrenaline was pumping and all that, so you can, I feel like when you're in flow, you can do some pretty amazing things, just like when you're determined and just so. But yeah, you were in front of me most of the run. Like obviously at the start we got up first and we were ahead of you, and then you caught up pretty quick. And you're always to my left out to sea, so I was obviously keeping an eye on you. And then like we both had weed on our foils.
Yeah, it was sort of back and forth a little in the middle.
It was back and forth for a bit, wasn't it? Like you'd come down, then I'd like if I had weed on my foil, I'd come down, and then go again, and I'd get in front of you.
Mhm.
And then by the end, it was just the difference I found. Like well, how many times did you come off for? Like six times?
Yeah, I came down
So
6 times. Yeah,
that's where the difference was, in the end. Like,
yeah, I was
'cause I
hanging
was-
hanging
yeah.
on up on foil as long as I could. Yeah.
Yeah, like especially from probably Brighton,
Mm.
Trig Point, the second half, like the weed was like most of the run up until then, the weed was just surface level weed. So it was only in the like 100 mil of
Kind of getting the
water.
mast. Yeah, it was mast
Yeah,
weed.
so you could literally like glance over it. So your foil was under the water and then pop back up. But by the end, it was literally walls of weed that were a meter deep. It was literally a
messed
wall.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was messed up.
And by the end, like the last kilometer or K and a half, I came off foil 3 times. And like, I remember just like coming into this big weed. It was like a big V, and it started like 100 meters wide, and it would just slowly come into a V. So I was just like weaving like that and just waiting for like a break in the wall so I could try and get through. And there was none. So I just had to like try and punch through it, and then just went like head over the front of my board, just like sweating and and then that
and worried about who was behind as
that's
well.
it.
Like,
And
it
then I
was
could
so
see Marcus
stressful.
gaining on me, and I was like, Jesus! I was telling you guys I had a dream the night before that I just got beaten.
Yeah.
that was the recount, and I was like, oh, this is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then I eventually got out of that weed, that section, and then the last 200 meters or 400 meters is sweet. But yeah, it definitely was really stressful having the weed at the end. Like,
Yeah.
it
was like crawling to the finish. Like it was
literally.
Yeah. And if someone could have,
it was right there.
Yeah, it was.
Right,
I
tennis
remember
ball.
like I was probably a K from the line, and you're probably 800 meters, James, and I could see you on the right of me inside.
So far in, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I was down, you were down. I was like, pretty like, yeah, there's like anything can happen pretty much like right now. But the weed just had us. We couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I think I navigated that end section kind of good, luckily, because I kind of got around that up to the inside of that like V that was pushing you in. I kind of got around it and pumped back out before I came, like away from it all before I came down. So I came down, and then I got back up again, and then I hit another chunk of weed and fell down. But I was sort of out of the worst of it. So just pure luck, like it's the weed is a bit of a roll of the dice. But I was not willing to look behind, because I'm like, if I look behind, I'm going to be stressed more, and if I'm stressed more, I'm going to have trouble paddling up. And if I can't paddle up, then I'm going to get beaten. So it was
exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, it was gnarly. It was such a stressful. And then like when I finally got up and rounded the can, I kind of looked, because that was our gentleman's agreement, first to the can. I sort of looked back, and I think you're down at that point, Zane. So I looked back, I couldn't. You weren't obvious. I'm like, okay, he's not going to beat me up the beach, kind of thing. It was, it was. Yeah. It wasn't his dream where we touched the run to the finish. But yeah, it was stressful. It was a good race. It was cool to race, but it wasn't exactly what we wanted. The weekend before, we wanted to do the Mandurah Duel, but they didn't have insurance basically for us, so we just we did the Mandurah Duels Dawesville Cut to Hall's Head. It's like 10, 11, 12 Ks, and the King of the Cut, the sup race was Dawesville to Secret Harbour Surf Life Saving Club, and that's like 24, 25 Ks, and we decided we'd rename it King of the Cutback, and there are a few different rules. I'm gonna share with you guys this is the score sheet that I haven't filled in yet, because we need to get everyone's. But basically, it was a bit of a different take. It wasn't just fastest point A to point B. It was fastest kilometer on foil, slowest kilometer on foil, the difference between those 2 kilometers, the longest distance for the run, so start to finish, zigging and zagging, I guess.
I think you forgot to add shortest distance as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, for sure. Average speed, max speed. And so basically for each of these, you get a point. Shortest distance. Well, how's my spelling?
Shortest
Yeah,
difference.
the S isn't working. Silent S. Shortest distance, average speed, max speed. So it's basically get a point for each one. So I got to fit all this in. I'll by the time I release this podcast, I will have the results. But it was really cool, I think, to, I guess, the mindset that we had on that run. And it wasn't like a proper, like, we had a group of like 8 of us. Actually, John Pascal to add to that list as well. We sort of all set off in different groups, and we had a group of 4 of us. It was us 3 plus Reedy, and we did a bunch of race starts, just sort of sitting down in the water. One of us calling go, and then jumping up, and whoever got up first got a point. Obviously, that doesn't work if you have a group of 20 because it spreads out so far, and you wouldn't stop that often. But I think it was just, I think you can all agree, it was less of a race and more of a free surf downwind. And while you still had the competitive sort of mindset, you wanted to get the fastest K, you're trying to sort of go as slow as you could without anyone else noticing you're trying to go slow. You're trying to get the most distance without sort of making it obvious you're trying to get the most distance, keeping your speed up for your max average speed. And it was just lots of different points. I feel like it gives everyone a chance to win a point, and also makes it not a complete pump fest straight up and over downwind. So I guess one of the reasons we came up with this was on the car drive down, we're talking about how some races have become, like, we don't want foil racing to become a fitness thing straight downwind, just pumping fast, smallest foil, fastest person, fittest person, up and over, up and over, up and over. We want it still to have an aspect of surfing downwind. Want to have
include everyone.
Include everyone. Yeah, everyone's a winner. It's not just the person with the fastest foil is going to win. Exactly the opposite. Someone with the slowest foil could actually win a point at least. And like you'd award all of these, and you get someone an overall, but it's kind of not really the point. It's just recognizing everyone. And
that's it.
And being inclusive, I guess. And I think not only did it make it more fun for us doing the run, I think it could include everyone. It could be I don't know. I'm not sure if it'll take off. It's be a bit of a pain in the ass to add everything up, and Garmin's versus Apple. But as long as you have a GPS watch, you can enter. Marcus didn't, so he was disqualified before we even started. I think he won a few points on the paddle ups, but he's not getting any points for fastest K or slowest K because we will never know.
Stats,
no stats, no stats. But it was a cool. Talking about the mindset, I guess Zane more than Marcus, because you were probably just cruising, Marcus. But the mindset for the king of the cutback versus the West Coast downwinder.
Well, I guess the start of it, we're all going for the slowest kilometer because it's so organized and slow. So we're weaving.
Yeah.
And there was a rule you couldn't pump back upwind. But I guess the start of it, you kind of more just cruising. Like the foils we were all on were like, that was like probably the minimum speed you could go, really, like without working really hard. I guess we were pumping a lot.
Yeah.
But and then as we got further into our session, we could start doing like faster Ks and like going for a shorter distance. I guess at the start you're kind of either going for the shorter or a longer distance. So at the start we were turning more, so I guess we're all kind of going for longer distance. The more you turn, the more you're washing off speed, the slower you're going to go. I reckon it was really fun.
Yeah.
Meant we were in the water longer as well.
Yeah. Well, like we stopped a fair few times. And I think if it was like a bit of a more organized race with a few more people, I think we probably wouldn't have stopped as much, because I think you shouldn't be able to stop your watch from when the start to the finish is to make it a fair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because we were like, I was stopping my watch when we were stopping for those multiple race starts.
Yeah.
Whereas I think to make it fair, it should be a race start and a race finish is when the last person comes in. And, you could even have like the person who's out there the longest gets a point, just try to make it inclusive and get everyone involved, I guess. A few things we sort of came up with as we're out there too. One was because a bunch of us had GoPros. It was like who could get the best clip of someone else surfing, and then who could get the best clip of themselves surfing, like in front of someone else filming. And then the no pump drill, who could stand there without pumping for the longest, like just stand there gliding and just weaving. You could turn, but you couldn't pump. And I guess all those things, like
I think that's a good drill to like be very efficient, you know. That can like help you become a lot better at downwinding for sure, you know, just making better decisions earlier.
Yeah, less muscling. Yeah, that's one of the ones we talk about in the Coach Casey Club is no pump drill. How long can you go without pumping? Because it means you have to make good decisions and commit to those good decisions rather than just muscling your way up and over or through a bad choice.
And get good at maneuvering. Like it's so, a lot of people, I think maybe still learning to maneuver quite hard or, you know, fast, split second, I've got to change direction super quick. And it's such a big part of downwinding. And that makes you do that because you have to surf. It's like you can't just glide in one direction. You won't last very long at all because you surf. It forces you to surf. That's what's so cool about the no pump rule. You can do cutbacks and the biggest turns you've ever done, and it generates lift, and you turn into little corners and pockets, and it's so fun and very good. Like Zane said, really good skill.
I think it's got all the makings for a really cool event, especially if everyone's filming each other. Like I guess if the mandatory was a watch and a GoPro, then not only is the event getting footage to promote itself, but it's footage for socials and brands and all these sorts of things. I think
it's a good communal event.
It's more like a Merimbula of downwind, I guess, rather than a fastest point A to point B. Marcus, I think you were the fastest. Oh, you go.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, I think you won the most of the paddle ups in the end. We were like sitting down, and then we weren't tallying it, but I think
I had to get points somehow.
No watch. You're still disqualified, but
what I was going to say is, they remember with the King of the Cut, a lot of people would go and stay down in Mandurah for the week, and they had this thing called the Garmin Challenge, where the fastest sup time for the half cut or the full cut. For some, I reckon it would be a really cool thing that didn't happen over one run, so that let's say next year for sure the Mandurah Duel is definitely going to include foiling, and let's say it becomes like a foil 2 weekends where people start to travel and come over. We probably haven't been selling it too well with the weed, but
that was a one-off.
Where you have the fastest K, the slowest K, all these little challenges, and the clips, you know, the clips are all getting put out on socials or whatever over the span of a whole week or a week and a half. You know, you have a little window. That'd be pretty cool. And then you have an actual race where it's like your traditional race. Well, I mean, we can't tell them to change their format. We're joining in, but
you can still
you could run your own thing, and you don't need nothing for it. You don't need insurance. You're just going out with your mates.
It's all GPS times. I think
the old rules, but I don't think Apple Watches were around, or you had to be a millionaire to own one. But there was you had to have a Garmin then. So I think they are a little bit different, but I just also think who cares?
It's close enough.
You know, it's just for fun, and it's good to have a little presentation and some beers and a barbecue or something, and then give everyone a reward for something stupid.
I think you could also do that, the same rules within a race that is a ski race. You know, you could have, look, they're still the fastest across the line. Whoever wants that, they can have that. But there's also these other categories that you can go for if you want. And you could still, at the present time, obviously a ski race wouldn't want you to call up the fastest kilometer, the slowest kilometer, like all these other extras, but you could have like a little foil presentation afterwards, like a barbecue and like a little catch up and foil froth nerd out session. I think I think it'd be pretty cool, and just sort of add to the community of it all, and not being so focused on speed, point A to point B, but surfing and getting clips and sharing the stoke and the froth and the skills of it all, rather than just pumping up and over, up and over, and up and over, which isn't. It's less skillful, it's less fun, and it's fun to go fast, but not if everyone's just going straight and not surfing the bumps.
Yeah, I really the whole sort of vibe around the downwinders while you guys were here was different from in the past, and I think we were all coming from the SUP background and racing, and then this year you guys came and we definitely had hit outs, but we weren't going out every day and just going, who's the fastest?
Yeah.
We went out and just had so much fun. It was really cool. And yeah, I think if you had something like that in place over a week, like, you know, you two and some other guys came, 2 other guys, but, you know, let's say that snowballs into 20 guys. Yeah, it'd be a pretty cool thing just to keep people. The cool thing is it gets people on the water with, you know, whether it's GoPros or trying to go fast, trying to go slow.
Yeah, and in the end, it's just proving everyone's skills, you know, pushing each other.
Yeah, and promoting the sport with guys doing, putting stuff out there. Yeah.
I feel like next year there'll be a lot more crew coming from the East Coast, for sure.
Yeah, the crew here will be way bigger too. I would, you know, we had 12 entered in that race. And obviously the conditions didn't let everyone finish, but for sure next year I wouldn't be surprised if we've got like 30.
Yeah.
I would say I'd be surprised if, I think that at least. Looking at all the people out there learning and
the number of people that we saw when we were over in WA, just like out to sea, downwinding, whether it be winging, whether it be prone, like along the shoreline, or just like doing shuttles and just hanging in car parks, and the foil fever, like it was seriously, like downwind foil fever was seriously on it. And I was lucky enough to do a bunch of clinics with a bunch of those crew, and then some like sort of beginner crew that weren't even up to doing the clinic because they weren't at a level yet. They wanted to do like a one-on-one beginner lesson, and Perth is such a good place to learn to downwind, and I think it's almost easier to learn to downwind than it would be to surf foil because of the nature of the waves being so close to shore, and the peakiness of the bumps when we were there anyway. I think we got good conditions, but
pretty standard.
Yeah, standard.
Well, you saw like the race was borderline wind-wise, but we still paddled up within seconds of the gun going. You know, it's an easy place to paddle up.
Yes,
that's a good place. Like I'm pretty confident we're going to see a lot of successful learners over here.
All the clinics I did over there, actually, everyone paddled up, like not necessarily foiled away, but paddled up and got flight, and whether either fell off but they all got lift off and were 1 or 2 pumps and fell off. Others continued going, and it was a good place to teach too, because people were getting rewards, you know, right away. Whereas Zane and I did a session when we were first downwinders on the T180, and that was a bit humbling, you know. I thought you were sweet, and then we paddled most of the way and ended up chipping into a wave, and once you're up, you were sweet, but it was just getting that start when the bumps are a bit, I guess,
definitely
bigger.
Underfoiled that first session. That's all right.
Yeah, maybe. And then lessons we all learn, you know. Yeah,
that's it.
That's part of the journey. It's better to be overfoiled when you're learning, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's
we've all been there.
We've all we've all been there. But I tried to paddle up the Kai on that first half of the cut run, the first downwind foil over, tried dreaming.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, that was the biggest foil going around at the time. Times have changed. All right, then let's just finish up now. We'll just do a little bit of debrief on the Merimbula. I got my Merimbula shirt on, 40 years. I haven't been there for 10 years, but it was cool to get back, and the foilers sort of, well, from my perspective, the foilers took over because we were surfing most mornings and there wasn't so much wind when I was there Thursday, Friday. But Zane, you won it. Super stoked to witness the Shred Fest. It was a pretty cool crew.
yeah, a lot of good foiling going down. Hey,
Yeah,
which is
everyone's
great.
ripping. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely the I'd say the best prone riders in Australia, all in one area for sure. Like, yeah, it was good, and everyone's pushing each other. It is I reckon the best event I've ever been to by far. Like, just the whole layout and how they run it. You can see it's been running for 40 years, so it's a successful event. And other than that, just like meeting new people, like of all ages, and everyone's such legends, and everyone was just vibing on each other's disciplines, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because
It's
there's
really
a
cool.
lot of it's originally a windsurfing event, and they tacked on kite surfing, then they tacked on SUP, and now they tacked on foiling, and it was technically a wing foil event, but most of us were prone or SUP foiling a lot of the time, and they didn't really have I think next year they'll have a like surf foil division, I feel like, because there was that many surf foil sessions going on. But it was
The waves were really good the whole weekend.
Yeah, we
Like,
got lucky with that, I think.
yeah,
But
they nailed it.
Yeah, it was cool.
But yeah, it's a good place for wind. Hey, like the nor'easter came up on Saturday Arvo, and it was, I can see why they do it there. It's like perfect cross offshore. Yeah, it was well when the wind came up, me and JB were the first ones out, and it was probably 8-10 knots. So we were riding big wind kites, kite wind, whatever you call them, windings.
Yeah.
And then as the wind filled in, all the kiters came out, and the windsurfers came out, and then there was literally like 40 people in the water foiling, kiting, windsurfing, and it was just like organized chaos. It was great. It's so good. Like foilers going past the windsurfers, and the windsurfers on the inside doing like crazy, I don't even know what you call them, just Rios. And then the kiters coming past. It was like that was really like good. I got out and I was watching it. I was like, whoa, this is actually crazy. Like,
yeah,
it was a fun event. Hey,
yeah.
yeah.
I was spewing. I missed that Saturday Arvo of wind. Had to head up back home basically, but yeah, looked like you guys had a sick wing session, and you were saying, Zane, it was probably the most fun conditions you've winged in, because you finally got sort of a left-hander.
Preferable conditions, wind to the back, and then a left-hander, which is what you get every time there's wind at home.
Every southerly.
I know. Yeah, but yeah, it was it's a great event.
Yeah, it was like you said, awesome, whole different range of people, demographic, but also what was really cool was the ability to demo gear. So lift, unifoil, Saab, Axis was going to be there but couldn't make it. Nash was there, probably missing a bunch. I think there was an Armstrong setup, a GoFall setup. There was all these crew that were just willing to share equipment, say, yeah, take it out, try it out. A bunch of different boards, Freedom floorboards were there. It was the Comic-Con for foiling. It seemed like it was just such a frothy geek out zone. And one rule, no whinging. It was like, that's the only rule of the event. You're not allowed to whinge, and it'd be funny whenever it's, I drove 16 hours to get it. It's like, oh mate, I don't want to hear about it. No whinging. Or
you're here now.
don't drop it on me. I didn't know it's party wave. No whinging. It was just like, it was, and everyone's like, oh yeah, right, yeah. They're like sort of laughing off a video, and it's like just all. I didn't feel there was no bad vibe the whole weekend.
Nah, not at all.
It was like, and which, like you organized chaos, saying, you were saying, and it's pretty easy for there to be some bad vibes when there's 40, 50, 60 people in the water.
Yeah,
when they're all there for the event, it's basically a free surf event, and everyone having fun. It was, there's a reason they've been going for 40 years. It seems like they're
I really like watching the kiting. I'm going down one on Saturday Arvo, watching the kiters, and in person it's way more impressive watching guys boost like 10-meter airs and like shred waves. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with the kite for sure. Yeah, that's the first year I went to Merimbula was before, actually mainly for kiting, and I sort of did a bit of sup, so I entered the kite and the sup, but I didn't kite because there was no wind, and so I supped, and it was kind of interesting how like you sort of go for one event, but like I sort of turned into a sup guy after that event. Went in as a kiter, came out as a supper. It was. I'm sure a few people that went into that last weekend as a, you know, kiter or supper and came out as a foiler. The way it's all happening.
I reckon there's a few people that left with foil brain.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Marcus, I want to finish up just chatting about, I guess we noticed when we were over there with you, you had a bit of a foil project going on, CNC and all sorts of things. Tell us what you're cooking up. You're designing a few things, and there's a few tail wings floating around when we're there.
Yeah. Bought a little CNC machine, been cutting some wings and stuff. A bunch of the guys, we would have been using them while you guys were here. I nearly missed this chat because I was upgrading the CNC brain. So I'm glad you sent a reminder. Just me and a couple of mates have been looking into starting a foil brand, and the first thing was we bought a CNC machine and started cutting wings and using them and experimenting, and a lot of study, studying, using a lot of foils, figuring out how to read foil section graphs and all that stuff. I feel like I'm in school again. It's awesome. I didn't finish school, so maybe I'm finishing it now. It's cool. Things are starting to progress. I don't know. This is the first time I've spoken about it in public. It's weird. Caught me off guard a bit. I mean, the dream is to have a foil brand and hopefully do it as a job one day, I guess Armstrong, he used to race these sups back when we were racing, and he was always the mad scientist, and that's probably kettle calling it black or whatever that saying is. Because I just turned out exactly like him. But he'd rock up with his own made boards and stuff, and I was a bit of a character, and here he is, he just did something that he loved, and I don't know, that's what we're doing. If something comes of it, it'll be great, and if something doesn't, then we won't die wondering. It could be a total waste of money, could be throwing money down the drain, or
I hope not.
Great. I think it's not a project. It's not like we're like, oh, foiling's massive, let's get rich and sell foils. I mean, for those people who know me, know that's not really what I'm about. It's just a passion project. Everyone involved is very passionate about foiling. Quite a lot of them about downwind foiling. So I'm kind of hoping that we can make a really good downwind product. And obviously also the rest of the types of foils we all love as well. We love to prone foil, we love to wing foil. We don't get to prone foil much in WA. I don't know. Probably just babbling now because I'm trying to answer the question without answering it. But that's what's happening. And maybe one day you'll see it in the water, or maybe it'll never get that far. But
I think that I guess Marcus and I saw it firsthand. So Zane and I saw it firsthand. Marcus, the froth and even the setup you guys have, it was pretty cool to witness and sort of see. I don't think we saw a wing being cut, but that we saw the products that you had cut, and
I think we cut two just the night. I was up pretty late the night before you guys got here.
Yeah,
cutting a couple of tail wings. We've only done a couple of front wings. Prototyping the front wings is a bit different. Like the rear wings, as you see everybody using a little green tail wing, just G10.
Yeah.
Super easy. You just cut it out. So it's really cool. You can test. You can come up with an idea and cut it and test it within a few days.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. The front wing's a bit of a different thing, but it's unbelievable what you get out of a good tail wing. It's been a pretty big revelation, and just been tinkering with some things that I haven't really seen yet. And I'm sure everyone else is tinkering with the same stuff. We just haven't seen it yet. I don't know. But yeah,
it's at
cool.
the stage that foiling's at. I think it's pretty cool to be able to, like, there's a bunch of the downwind crew in WA were making their own boards, and you guys are making your own foils. Chris, he's making his own tail wings too, and it's like it's at the stage that foiling's at, the R&D and the ability to play with stuff like within, like you said, 2 days or a week, or because as we've seen with board design in the last 3 months, it's gone crazy. Foils as well in the last sort of 6 to 9 months has exploded, like the higher aspects stuff faster for downwind. Even just surf balls for gliding around. It's everything's getting better and better quickly. So to be able to be on that, I guess, ability to make your own gear is pretty sweet. And I was spewing I couldn't try it because you had it all cut for lift. Lift tails, and obviously I'm not using Axis, so I couldn't bolt it on. But I'll have to.
I think that's just sort of by default. The 120 is such as far as probably commercially available wings. The 120 just is great here. It's proven to be one of the quicker ones for what we do, and super surfy too. That's a cool thing. You can go fast and you can carve, and it's a little wing. So we're all using it. So we just cut our own fuse, which we bolt all our tails to, and we got that nerd angle machine, which Zane was loving.
I bought one.
He's got one now.
And one on the East Coast.
And you've got me sanding my mast and my foils.
I love it. But no, it's exciting. It's nerve-wracking and exciting at the same time. And well, I mean, I don't have much money, but most of what I've got will be going into it. And if I lose it, it's not a big deal. If I get it back, it'll be cool. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I reckon you'll kill it, mate. The passion you have, I've seen firsthand for downwinding, starting like with the unlimited downwind boards and the dugouts that you made for me and Matt Notich and Toby Cracknell that first year, and then the Sonova boards. Then we made that hollow Nomex board, and you certainly don't do things by halves. I think you look at that entire Sonova range now and the stuff you've done. I think I reckon you'll kill it. I reckon it's if you have the passion for something, then I think everyone will notice that, and good things will come of it. If nothing else, you'll make yourself good foils, and that'll raise eyebrows in itself. So I think I
hope so. Yeah, thanks. I mean, fingers crossed. But if we can make stuff that we want to ride, that'll be a massive win. I think if we can make something that we want to ride over the other stuff available, that'd be awesome. But even if it's in the ballpark at this stage, it'd be great. But time to tell.
That's pretty. I think we can all agree it's a pretty exciting time to be part of foiling.
There's so much discovery,
especially downwind foiling. I feel.
For sure.
I think the last sort of 6 months, there's been a lot of progression, not just in the top end of it, but almost like in that missing bottom end of the downwind foiling. It was always like this, or downwind foiling's too hard. You've got to be a pro. If you can do it, you're probably a freak at everything else. And it's the floor is lowering, I guess. It's becoming easier to get into it. And
Yeah, that's something that we will definitely, being passionate about downwind. You know, it's not our priority right now, but it's something we really want to focus on, is like, you know, making something like Access 1300 or better, you know. Everything keeps getting better. I'm sure there's going to be a better wing out there to learn on, a better board, a better tail wing. I just want to be going open ocean surfing with like a crowd.
Yeah.
It's that's it. Yeah, I get excited about it. It's different to, the cool thing is you want to foil next to your mates and show off for them, or watch them show off for you. Like when I go winging, you know, like the other day I was winging and my mates were going for a downwind. I didn't have time. And, you know, foiled up to him, had a chat and got up. As soon as I got up, I was like, I'm going to do a jump for him. You know? And it's like when you're downwind, you're all around. It's cool. And it's not like there's never aggression. I haven't seen aggression foiling yet. It's like if you get on a wave with someone, it's good.
Yeah. There's no scarcity in downwind.
Yeah, it's cool. And, you know, just the people you meet, everyone seems pretty like-minded so far. Like meeting you, Zane, and having you here just felt like normal, like you'd been coming here every year.
Yeah, she is.
Just met sort of Josh Q recently via text, and he's coming here, and everyone just, it's a community. And hopefully our foils will make people happy one day. But if not, you know, I'll go back to using some other brand and keep doing what I do. But it's exciting to be a part of foiling. It never hasn't been, but at the moment it feels like there's a little bit of a turning point. The thing I love about foiling is that people have been open-minded enough to paddle with a paddle.
Yeah.
You know, you get a shortboarder to go for a sup surf, it's not going to happen. And people have realized what a paddle can do for them and gone, all right, I'm going to suck it up and hold a paddle. And it's really cool. Like people have made it cool. The Voyager guys, you know, they were all chipping in at the start. You notice them all start to get sups and they're doing this stuff, and it's awesome. Yeah, it'll continue to evolve. Who knows? Hand paddles. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It can go any and every direction from here.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone will be deflating the wing. I don't know.
Have you ever done a podcast and not brought up the deflate?
I know. He's always
it's like a self-challenge. I have to bring it up at some point.
Yeah. Oh, you got it in. Well done.
That is the beauty. Like it's maybe instead of deflating, it'll be like a rigid wing that'll be easier to follow. Like honestly, like there's so many options.
You can't write anything off.
Nah.
I mean, when we started foiling, I remember you saying we'll do downwinders on these one day, and we'll do the Molokai on foils, and I was like, nah. And that was like a year later. I was doing Molokai.
Yeah,
that's how quickly
exactly.
that evolved. Yeah, it's crazy.
You were wrong
But
quickly.
who knows? Who knows what's next?
Yeah, I personally, I'm looking forward to this summer in Australia and getting more people downwinding. Like you said, Mark, I think you nailed it. I want to be downwinding with a crowd. Like in like the closest I guess Zane and I've probably come to it is that week in Perth. And
like
I think we had
us,
like consistently 7 to 8, you know, crew downwinding, and you'd see others along the run.
That all clicked this season for us too. Those guys all just got to a level so quick where we can paddle up at will, or, you know, if you get ahead, you wait, they get close, paddle up. We're always in a group, and it's the best.
Yeah.
Every time we come in from a run, you know, we do them all the time, and you come in buzzing, you're like, anyone else doing this? What we're doing? And I'm sure they are. I'm sure the Voyagers are or whatever, but we are just so close. Sometimes you got to get out of their way, and there's
Donnie, like
we had a board overlap, I think, Jimmy, as well.
Yeah.
But you know, it's amazing. And that's what you hope it gets to one day, and you're never sure if it was gonna. It'll happen all the time from now, because like you said, the gear's getting better. But to do that with those guys all the time, is awesome. There's never a dull moment out there. It's
fully.
on always.
You're not getting bored, even if the bumps aren't great. Like it's just you're having conversations with people up on foil along on the same bump, and let's go right, let's go left. See how close you can get, or peekaboo,
that's what's so good about downwinding. It's never ever the same. It's a constant enigma. Just always trying to figure out where to go faster, or
And you get on bumps with the guy next to you, and like you start reading the wave where he is. Where's he going to go? I'll go with him, or do I need to turn and he comes with me? And I don't know, it's like this weird sort of.
It's like a dance.
Telepathic. I don't know. I'm just talking shit now. But
I think this is descended. It's getting late. We're rambling.
I haven't had dinner yet.
Jeez. You get a spoonful of honey, you'll be right, mate. I think you could easily have 50 to 100 people and still find yourself in your own little pocket of a bump. I think it'll be a long time before it's too crowded. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be cursing that we did this podcast and now there's thousands of people downwinding when it's windy, but I don't think it's going to get too crowded out there in the next 5-10 years. I don't think. But if we do, it's a good thing, because you can just like literally wait a minute and that gap becomes a couple 100 meters and you've got your own zone again. Go further out, same thing. So it's a lot of space to fill up with humans. It's a cool thing, spreading everyone out. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. It's been a good chat. I think it's pretty much just under 2 hours. But thanks for coming on, boys. I had a hell trip with you both over in WA and Zane, and hanging with you in Merimbula too. It's been good, and I look forward to doing it again soon. Hopefully, might have to head over again to WA if the wind keeps blowing like it was. It was a pretty fun place to test stuff, and
definitely a good testing ground, isn't it?
It was great having you guys, and
thanks for having us.
Anytime, obviously. So
cheers.
The more the merrier over here.
The more the merrier. To everyone's ever going to Perth, make sure you find Marcus on Instagram.
At the foil shop.
At the foil shop.
Totally. We're pretty keen to welcome people and get them out there with us. So
Likewise, if everyone's any in Sydney and want to downwind, Zane and I are happy to show you the local runs. What it's all about, the foiling community. It's hard to get too crowded, so it's like people want to share it and show you the way. But yeah, thanks for coming on, boys, and that was a good chat, just rambling. But yeah, for those that are listening and got this far, well done. Let us know.
Special offer.
Yeah. There's no special offer, but just let us know if you like the technique chat at the start. I'm going to try to add those in and have sort of like different sections, and I want to get Josh Koo on and talk about like his progression and how he's gone from bay runs to ocean runs, because I guess what I'm trying to do with this podcast is to get more people into downwinding is the main thing, but also educate people on how to get going downwind quicker, like solo rather than with a jet ski, or and sort of equipment and skills, and obviously like I coach it as well. If you want to do like an online coaching thing or in person, hit me up. But this podcast is just talking shit, and hopefully you get something out of it. I certainly do. It's good just catching up with mates and fellow downwind frothers. So sorry it goes a little bit long, but we just get carried away.
Better let Zane go and have some dinner.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Molly, good on you, Mole.
All right.
But thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll speak to you.